Proof of pulse. Short for proof of pulse. Proof of pulse is POP, right? So POP, as opposed to POW, which is proof of work, and then you have other algorithms like uh, proof of stake, right? So proof of pulse focuses primarily on the consensus uh, of of the chain in regards to how the community decides, or how the nodes decide on the direction of the chain. It's not necessarily it's not about the cryptography. It's not about the hash level of the chain. It's about how consensus is arrived at. So proof of pulse does something interesting. So where you have proof of work, the consensus is arrived at by competing computer power, right? So you have lots of computers that are they're solving puzzles, and essentially they're given rewards, and the consensus is arrived at based on the number of nodes that actually upgrade to the same version that have the total amount of the hash power for the chain, right? The proof of work is based on computing power to arrive at decisions. Proof of stake, in arriving at decisions for the consensus, is based on the stakeholders, the token holders or the coin holders. And so there's variations on that. The ones that actually need to be able to stake their coins in order to be able to receive rewards and be able to make decisions in what version of the chain is going to run. And then there's others where you can just hold coins to do that. So proof of stake is based on whoever holds the most coins is going to decide what the direction the chain's going to go, right? And so those kinds of consensus algorithms pretty much make up 99% of the entire the entire blockchain industry in terms of how consensus is arrived at. Uh, Proof of pulse, on the other hand, takes a different kind of approach. So rather than being like proof of work or proof of stake, what it does is it actually has the blockchain be more proactive in reaching out for decision making. And rather than making it so that token holders or computing power is making a decision, instead, proof of pulse has the blockchain reach out to all the token holders within the blockchain randomly, and then they actually it does a kind of a micro decision process where it will poll the user to be able to give an input to the chain on what direction to take. Put simply, proof of pulse allows for everyone to be able to have micro decisions in the direction of the blockchain. It doesn't matter how much you hold in terms of stake. It doesn't matter how much computing power you have. What matters is simply having a micro decision to contribute, so that all these micro decisions together end up giving a direction for the whole chain. So no one party could actually create the consensus for the chain. It's based on everybody who's using the blockchain being able to actually participate. So as far as like communities or like any kind of communities or businesses being able to determine the direction that the blockchain takes, they will have a direct input on it. Whereas all these other consensus mechanisms always have a sort of, for lack of a better term, elite that actually controls the chain. Like it's always the biggest whale stakeholders in proof of stake end up making all the decisions for the chain. So you have a very tiny handful of people. In proof of work, the same sort of thing happens where you only have a handful of miners who are running these huge mining pools, and they end up making all the decisions for the chain. In proof of pulse, there's no one party that can actually make that decision. It's made with everybody involved. It's done with randomization, and it helps to be able to ensure that the decision making is ongoing. So what happens is almost similar to markets. If a decision is made to go in one direction, over time, the direction can be adjusted. And then what happens is, between some people deciding it should go up, and then others going, no, it should go down, then it creates an equilibrium, right? So with proof of pulse, you end up having all these inputs for everyone, creating an equilibrium that determines the direction that the chain should go. What's interesting about this is that it actually solves a lot of the organizational issues that we have with the way that blockchain works in order to actually achieve real decentralization, right? Because as long as you have just whales deciding and you have whales on proof of work and proof of stake making all the decisions, we really don't have any kind of decentralization to ensure the security of the network. Through proof of pulse, we're actually having a real broad decision making process with everything that happens. So you end up getting a far superior decentralization effect for the network as a whole.